Trying to make sure I don't look dark in here.
Just give me a moment. I'm going. Just give me a moment. I'm going live. I'm going live. I already had that. Questions. We are um, okay. We are there. Okay,
Awesome.
we are live. Hello, hello, everyone. Oh, we are back and excited. I believe this segment, this question and answer segment, is going to be one to remember and an encounter from the Lord that will help your marriages. I am Katrina Currie, your host for The All, and I have Keisha Bass here today with her dope marriage. And we're going to break bread today and just answer some questions that were asked and people that met our deadline for Tuesday, September the 22nd. So one of the questions, we're going to kind of just jump right in because we don't want to waste time, and we know that we're a few moments behind. But one of the questions was, how is it that I communicate to my husband that it's not okay, or I feel some kind of way that he has female friends? Can you hear me? So I'm just going to share. I do have a pastoral counseling degree from Liberty University, and I do know that you have to be anointed. It's just not about a degree, but I do have some counseling behind my name. So one of the things that I want to always share with people, you have to understand that when there's someone or something outside of your union, it robs you of intimacy. And someone may say, well, we're just friends. And of course, you're not a hermit. You can't just stay in and not interact with the opposite sex. But when it comes to someone being the opposite sex, that's an issue. Why are you with that person if you're sharing things about your marriage, or if you're not just sharing things about your marriage, but you're sharing some things that you feel comfortable talking with another person or another female? That's an issue,
Right.
because you're not building that relationship with your spouse. You're taking that outward, and the covenant is an inward covenant between you, your spouse, and God. So those are the three elements, the three major elements, beings, and powers of that marriage. So when we talk about sharing a part of us
Mhm.
with someone else, we have to check that.
Right.
Now, I'm going to even go a step further. If it is a male that contradicts your home, if it's a man, like if it's a husband that has same sex, and he talks to his boy about his girl, his wife, that's a form of betrayal. Likewise, women, because we have a habit of doing this. I'm gonna call Keisha, this man over here making me sick. He this, and I've spoken all these, I vomited all these ill wills towards my spouse, about my spouse, to Keisha. Now there are ways we can discuss our spouse without humiliating them, degrading them, belittling them.
Mhm.
But ultimately, we have to, does the Bible tells us? Love, honor, and respect.
Right.
Women love to be loved. Men love to be respected. Keisha, I'm going to get quiet because I'm
So
pretty sure you have a lot to say.
I don't have a lot to say, but I will say this. Before, you have that conversation with your husband about his friendships with the opposite sex, make sure your tone is right. Make sure you prepare your heart. You can't just go to him and think you're his mom and you're going to tell him who he can and cannot talk to. This is a
Right.
grown man. So I get that. I understand that. Going back to what you said, it is a level of respect. But at the same time, there's a way that you need to approach the situation. And so you have to talk about boundaries. You can't, so if it's always been the case where he's had the conversations or had the relationships before you got married and you just got married, I don't even know when it was, but you need to have that conversation, because if it was normal or okay back then you expect something different now. How does he know that? So you have to have that intentional conversation. You have
Right.
to talk about boundaries, and then you have to make sure your tone is appropriate.
Yes.
Like I said, you're not his mother. You are his wife, and you have to help him see why this is a risky situation. And I say that a lot of times we're grown, so men are probably going to say, "But I'm grown. I can handle this." Yeah, you can handle it when all things are going good in your marriage, but how about when something's going bad and your wife has gotten on your nerves and Sister Sue over here has said something to entice your feelings or whatever? Then that's where the issues come in, and the devil, all he needs is an inch.
Entry.
Yep, and then that's it. So we have to use wisdom. And so I agree. Just make sure that, you have that conversation with him. You watch your tone. I just think that, setting the atmosphere up front, having that intentional conversation, talking about boundaries and things of that nature, I think really is going to help have that help that situation. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen overnight. It is a process. So it's going to be something that you have to work on. So, and I like what you said, Katrina. It goes the same for the wife. You may have a male friend. So listen, so you can't expect something for him that you don't give to him.
Exactly.
So,
And in marriage, we're always growing. At one point, it may have been okay in your mind, in your thinking, for this to be, and you have grown, and the male has grown, and then so you begin to see different perspectives that this is not healthy for our marriage, because again, we're always growing. Another thing I wanted to share, and I'm just going to slide this right in because it does slide right in. Affairs normally never start intentionally.
right.
A lot of people, good people, have had affairs and they didn't see it coming.
Mm-hmm.
And you may say that is untrue, but they didn't have the intention. They were befriended. They may have been going through some things in their home. Oftentimes I've spoken to men who they say they were not encouraged, and every time they come home, the wife vomits her day and he doesn't have an opportunity to decompress. And infidelity is never an opportunity to blame either person. Right. I'm just sharing some information. And so he's going through on the job, has some trauma from his past, from how his parents dealt with issues. Mm-hmm. And the enemy just starts using things to weave in these little nuances that captures his mind. All he needs to do is bait. Mm-hmm. And that goes for male or female. But usually people who have had I'm not talking about someone who has already displayed those type of behaviors, but people who have had solid relationships, sometimes those nuances start to happen. And then here comes Sally Sue saying at work, oh, you did such a great job on this project. Oh, I loved how you handled that situation. Oh, I love your leadership. And he's not hearing that at home. He's not being built up in that respect. Again, I will say this very strongly, it is never a reason that you should step out your marriage.
Exactly.
Never.
Yeah.
However, I am sharing truths of how things do happen. Mm-hmm. Okay, Keisha?
No, I like that. I wrote me a note here so I didn't forget. It's not an excuse. It's not an excuse for, I get it. I know he needs to be encouraged. We do too as well.
Right.
We need to be encouraged. So it's a two-way street. So right. What you said about the affairs, I mean, it's not just one person. It is something that you see coming. Mm-hmm. And so that's why it goes back to that communication,
and boundaries.
Right. And so, communication and boundaries, but before you can get to the boundaries, you have to have a hard conversation about what is or what is not happening in your marriage. And be honest, we all have issues in marriage. There's no perfect marriage. Right. And so we need to realize that is the case. And if you need help, go to a counselor. Go to someone that can help you. And if he doesn't go, you go. Mm-hmm. You go and get the tools, the strategies to influence your husband, which is going to start with you first. And so, I just, when you said that, it's not an excuse. I wanted to make sure you said that because I don't want women to think that, oh, if my husband, he doesn't get, acknowledged at home or, whatever, then
never excuse.
Step out. No, he's not going to step out. This is not every man's testimony. This is not something that all men do.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So it is just something that, like you said, happens when you least expect it, and the enemy will take an inch. And like I said earlier, when things are going good and having those relationships with other women, if that's what he did or does, then it's not an issue. Your relationship is not threatened. But when you're going through challenges in your marriage and he's gotten on your nerves or she's gotten on your nerves, then the enemy will use those sly words, yes, that sly tongue, and fool you into thinking that this person over here is better and they're giving me what I need. Right. So we have to use wisdom. We have to make sure we surround ourselves with people that can feed us and tell us truth, So I that's all I got.
And yes, when I did speak about that, I really, and I thought I brought up that also this applies to females too.
You did.
I've seen it happen before my eyes in work situations. Very credible, very solid women, and going to lunch every day with a person. And next thing you know, one thing leads to another. And it's like you could see it coming, but they really didn't see it coming.
Right.
And you're like, you sure you want to go to lunch every day?
Right.
That person, you sure? We're just friends. And then later on, it blossoms to a full-out affair. And then I've sat with people who have had the shame, the guilt, and that's a whole nother that's a whole nother segment.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we just want to share just setting those boundaries and just appropriateness. And sometimes you need to ask yourself simple questions. Would I like my husband, if I'm that female that's going out to lunch every day with someone of the opposite sex, would I like that for my spouse?
And the
So
answer is no.
no,
Woo! No,
I'm coming.
ma'am.
No. Matter of fact, I may show up at the lunch and say, "Hey, how y'all doing? This ain't gonna happen no more. Not anymore. No more."
Right.
So I love you, Keisha. You're so awesome. Another question that we had, let me scroll.
Okay.
I just had it and I lost it. I don't want to just go by memory. What do you do when your spouse has lost their drive and passion and they stop dreaming? Whoa. Whoa.
Yeah. That's a deep question, and I had to go look this one up and ask God for some words on this, because if that is the case, the issue is bigger than
Right.
what you see. It could be many reasons.
It could be from childhood. Yeah, you're right.
It can be addiction. It can be depression.
Yes.
It can be health issues.
Mhm.
So a lot of times we make assumptions because we think we know what it is.
Right.
And more often than not, we're wrong because we don't know. And in that instance, your job, you don't get peace from him being who he needs to be. Your peace comes from making sure you understand, you know who you are, and you're doing what you can to help him. Now, at the same time, it is not your job to make him go, but because he is your other half, you want the best for him. So if he doesn't go to get help, because if he has lost his drive, if he has lost his ability to dream, then there is something that's going on that's deeper than what you see.
Right.
And, for me, counseling would be the way out in this situation.
Yes.
You want to ask?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I see several layers back to what you were saying, depression. It could be something, men tend to like to fix things. Men tend to find their identity in what they do. And so if he's all of a sudden, he's been the big achiever, he's been great on his job, he's done well in school, and now he's not doing as well on these company projects. And then the spirit of depression and rejection and all of that comes. And that's part of the depression circle. And so, like Keisha said, I would encourage him to seek counseling, because you can't make people have a drive. You can't make people dream. Now, as a wife, there are some things that I would encourage you to do. Pray. Set the tone. Always find ways to build him up. Little notes in his lunch or whatever, just finding ways to build him up, because I sense that there's a spirit of rejection. I'm not sure, but letting him know that you are a leader, speaking words, prophesying, speaking to his spirit. You are a leader. You are kind. You are loved. You are appreciated. Now, they may not appreciate you on the job, but we appreciate you. I appreciate you as wife, and if they have kids, we appreciate you. We don't just appreciate what you do, we appreciate the very being that you are. So, Keisha, other than that, I suggest counseling.
Yeah, and one other thing, what I've seen over the course of the last couple of months with the temperature of the country, we as women, we don't know what it takes to be a man. We don't know what they go through. And so it's hard for us to relate to those things that they're dealing with. And so I say this, when I see, I look at my husband and I notice different things. If he's looking at the news too much, listen, we have gates and that stuff affects all of us. And sometimes we say that news or what's going on doesn't, but it does.
Mhm.
And so I can encourage him, but at the same time, I need another man that's going to help him be who he needs to be.
Mhm.
So I always pray for God to send him godly influence,
Mhm.
godly men that could speak life, that can help him be all that he needs to be in his manhood. You know what I'm saying? So yes, there are things that I need to do as a wife, and I can speak and encourage, motivate, influence, all that stuff. But at the same time, how to be that man, how to be, this man that seeing other men just die for no reason, and what he's thinking about in his own mind about his wherever he is. And so my prayer is always, God, send someone that can give him a word, that can encourage him to be the man that you desire him to be. Yes, I can pray for him and I do that. But at the same time, I need somebody who can relate to him as a man. So, I like what you said, just to pray about it. And your prayers have to be specific. They have to be intentional. You just can't have Lord bless them. No, you have to ask God, what do you need God to do for
Right.
your husband? Yes, you want his will to be done, but you know exactly what's going on, or you may assume, and I know assumption sometimes is hard, but you can look and see, something ain't right about him. I can't put my finger on it, but God, I need you to fix it. God, I need you to work it out. God, and I'm not telling God what to do. I just need God to do it. God, let your will be done. And in that instance, let God be God. And I think we talked about this last week. Give him grace to grow.
Yes.
Don't let him stay stuck. Don't let him stay in that same state that he's in. And if you can't pull him out, God can, but let God do it. And don't try to do it for God. And ask God to send someone. I'm always praying for my husband because I don't know what he's dealing with. They don't like to share when it comes to that man stuff. So and guess what? And some stuff I can't carry as a wife.
Right.
How do I want to carry it?
Right.
So in that season, I need for God to drop a man, a Christian, God-fearing man in his presence that's going to help him be the man that he's called to be.
I want to piggyback on what you just said. Dr. Doug Weiss, he's world renowned for sexual sin and sexual addiction issues. And I'm not talking about sexual sin or sexual addiction. And T.D. Jakes, I've listened to both of them extensively, and they say, and it's in counseling, men speak to men.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just reinforcing what you had already said. Men speak to men. So wife, you may say, I told him that. I told him everything that this, but sometimes, and this is why I wanted to bring that up. Sometimes we will say, I talked to him and he talked to your husband. What's your husband's name again? Chris.
Mm-hmm.
He talked to Chris and they had this wonderful time and he got it. But that's your answered prayer.
Right.
It's not, you shouldn't get caught in your feelings that he didn't hear it from you. It should be, Lord, thank you that you put this man in his life, that he was able to receive it, and we can be a better unit. And yes. I think sometimes we get caught up, well, he didn't listen to me. And I know we do need to be heard. I'm not saying that, but you also have to balance that thing. God is sometimes is answering our prayers and we go and sabotage it. Mm-hmm. So just wanted to remind, especially our women sisters that are out here listening to us today, that sometimes you have to say, Lord, I thank you that you put a godly man to speak to him. I'm talking about a godly man. I'm not talking about foolishness. A godly man to speak to him and gave him godly counsel and godly wisdom, and we're able to build and grow. And yes, I may have told him this for 3 months, but you answered my prayer and sent what we needed so we can move on and grow.
Right. I love it. That's perfect. That's perfect. So I hope that answered that question for her. And, you know, we have to then take actionable steps. Okay, so what's the action from from this question? Look, what's your prayer? You know, go back and look at what you're praying. You may have to adjust some of those words. You know, God is still God and he is in control as long as we allow him. He's not going to come in and knock down the walls and try to do anything outside of your will. So your will has to line up with his. So yeah, yeah. So hopefully that answered that question.
So the last question, drum roll, that
Okay.
we received, and we just touched on this. What would you do and how do you handle if your spouse is friends with an ex person?
But is that a baby mama? So it really, that question, you know, you can ask, you know, add some additional questions on top of that. You need probing questions on top of that question. So is it a baby mama? Did the relationship end well? Because you can still be cordial and it's an ex. So it really just depends. What is it, an ex-wife, ex-girlfriend? You need more information, but let me hear how you would answer that.
Oh, Keisha. Okay. We would have to have a conversation of everybody has a past and an ex is an ex. So how did that end?
Mm-hmm.
Who broke up with who? I need some probing questions.
Yes.
Why was it a breakup? Did you ever try to restore that relationship, and how do you feel about that now? I mean, I have too many questions just to, but on a just basic level, yes, you can be cordial, but y'all can't be kikiing and cacaing on the phone. I'm sorry.
I agree with that. You're right.
You know, because to me, that's back to that open door. It's like you're inviting. If it's your past, let that be your past. And I'm not saying I'm this person that my husband can't talk to his exes and wave and say, hey girl, how you doing? Oh, you got kids, and that on a surface level. But no, it doesn't go, for me, it can't go beyond a surface level.
Right, unless there's a friendship between us all.
Yes.
Now, if there's a friendship between me, my husband, and the ex,
right,
then we good, you know, because there's a relationship amongst us all. But
and I can give an example of that. I'm sorry. One of my husband's ex, she didn't contact him. We were kind of working in the same area, and she contacted me, and she was a little nervous, and it was about some information on a job. I work with a junior college, and I told her how that works, and I also work on the other side with human resources and workforce development. And I was glad to help her. I didn't feel first of all, I liked how she approached me. There was no ill feelings. There was nothing. And it was about helping her son. So, you know, on that level, and I told my husband, hey, so-and-so came and approached me and so forth and so on. And, you know, he just kind of stayed out the way. But I wouldn't have had any issues if because of the program that the person was interested in. He had some background in it, and I said, hey, you might have some words that you can tell her or her son, reach out of what he needs to be prepared for. So but to me, that's still kind of on a surface level.
It is, but you still went outside and you still helped her, and she came through you. So she did it, to me, she did it the right way.
Right.
She didn't disrespect you. And because she could have contacted your husband and said, hey, look, can you tell Katrina, blah, blah, blah. No, she reached out to you. So in this instance, you need more questions answered. But I agree with you. I mean, if the friendship is between us all, then we're good. But you ain't gonna call my boo. That ain't gonna happen. I'm just saying. But but at the end of the day, even though I trust my husband, sometimes women, they have motives, and so you have to make sure you stay on top of that. And so you can be as confident as you want to be, but how the enemy is, he will use anything to cause division and foolery in your marriage. And so we have to use wisdom.
So Keisha,
Mm-hmm.
I've already established it's basically going to be on a surface level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there are some things that I may dive deeper into. That's discretional.
Right.
But I believe it would be wise for me to be present.
Mm-hmm.
Now Malcolm couldn't call me and say he's at Mary Mahoney's with so and so, and I wasn't invited.
Yeah, no.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure clear that we were on the same page with that one, or even your perspective. Yeah.
No, I think we're on the same page. I thought we said the same thing. I mean, I said that I thought we were on the same page.
Yeah.
So I agree. You can have a friendship with an ex if your husband, the wife, and the friend is there. That's what I had.
Yes.
I thought I had that. And so, and at the end of the day, so here's the thing. I agree with you, but at the end of the day, every relationship is different. Mm-hmm. So we can't say it's a one size fit all. Right. So I would say, we have to use wisdom. At the end of the day, my husband, is not, if it's an ex, I agree, it's an ex. Yeah, if we all on the phone, if we're all going out to dinner, then we good, but he's not going to be talking on the phone to her or things mm-hmm. of that nature. So no, I think we were saying the same thing.
Okay. I have a question. Mm-hmm. What about separate bank accounts?
Oh, Lord. You know what?
That's different. Because now I'm going to tell you, in counseling, they teach you intimacy. And when you start separating in any nuances you're creating, but I think there has to be a balance. If someone has an issue where they're overspending, checks bouncing, stuff not being paid, we may have to get separate accounts because I need to make sure my lights are on, mortgage is paid, things of that nature. I can't just let you go free,
right?
Go crazy, and you have no accountability or responsibility or any forethought of mm-hmm. the consequences. So, so I think it's a double-edged sword. We always talk about intimacy, and we want to make sure the couples are linked together. That is the goal. Mm-hmm. And then I've seen other situations like there's no one size fits all because sometimes people are in a different wealth bracket. Mm-hmm. And they've established. Now imagine if Oprah Winfrey got married today. There are so many. I can imagine her portfolio. I can imagine the economic impact that she has in several of her businesses. So I don't know. I'm not there, so I don't know how to. I do believe that we're supposed to be a unit, but I don't know how that works. So I can't speak on what I don't know.
So my husband and I, we do premarital for those that are engaged. And one of the things we do talk about finances, but we don't dictate to them how they should do it. We give them wisdom and say, this is what happens when you put your money together, mm-hmm. because everyone's story is different.
Right.
Every situation is different. And so if that is the case, if you find that your husband or the wife is spending too much and the bills are not being paid. So you have to do more than just react. You have to sit down and have a conversation and set expectations about what you're looking for. You just can't make an assumption that this is how it's supposed to be because this is how it was done in you when you with your parents.
Right.
So you have to go back to expectations and talk about that. Well, babe, this is what we expect. This is how we're going to do this. Maybe for the first couple years, I don't know. So, I don't want to even lay that out. It's whatever works for your relationship. But I agree with you, putting the money together. And even with the money being put together, make sure you communicate. Let me just say this. So my husband and I, years ago, we had one account, one checkbook, and no communication. We had, listen, do you know what an NSF is?
Yeah.
We had so many. I remember this one time, we had the nerve to go to the bank and say, and tell them that they're taking our money, that something is happening to our money and blah, blah, blah. He said, yeah, y'all not communicating because Keisha did this and Chris did this. And so even with having that one account, you still have to communicate. So you have to have that one primary person, and it may be a season. So after that, we got smarter and wiser. So I did the finances for about a year or two, and then we switched it off and we let him do it. So now he's been doing it for like 10 years. And we have finance meetings every other week. So we know what's coming in, what's going out, what's happening, so we have check-ins regarding our finances. So I'm not going to say that you guys need to put your money together. Again, this goes back to what you guys want, but the benefit of putting your money together is so much greater because it's all in one pot. Now we do have one. Now I do have an account, a play account, that I have money in. So you can set it up that way. We have a house account, then we have a play account. We each have a play account, and that's how it works for us. But again, to each his own. I'm not saying that that's how you have to do it because, everyone's situation is different.
And I would like to add, with that communication, always talk to people about major purchases or if you're going to take a big chunk. And I could tell you, I'm telling you my personal story. I was the person that was very challenging. So it's wrong if you're like at Chico's and and you're about to ring up $279 and you're like, and y'all already struggling and you're like, I tell them,
girl,
you're already at the cash register. You already know this. And I'm laughing about this, but seriously, that's financial infidelity.
Yeah.
That's financial. That's a form of betrayal because you knew your circumstances. Mm-hmm. And back to what we talked about affairs, sexual affairs. Okay, the boundary. Why are you in Chico's anyway?
Girl, just walking.
Why you in J. Crew anyway? Oh, and they closing J. Crew. Okay, let me stay focused. But why you in there anyway? Why you in there anyway? And you got it, but you don't have it because that may be a light bill. And now you're telling your husband, that's gone. that's not fair.
That's truth right there. That's truth. So yeah, we got to do better, and we've been there. So I bet now you've learned that you're not going to Chico's or J. Crew or anywhere else, but especially if it's a major. When I say major, you have to define that, but anything over $100, joint account, we need to have a conversation about.
And like you, my husband and I are in that space. We're talking about money. We're talking about wealth. We're talking about leaving a legacy for our children. So we're having those conversations. So it's not you do your thing and I do mine. And you can do that with separate accounts, just
Right.
having that opportunity. And I'm going to throw this story out there. There was a couple that and they know we used the story. They just asked us not to use their name.
Mm-hmm.
He works for a very prominent oil company, has a high level position,
Mm-hmm.
and the wife was in a lot of debt without his knowledge. And so he had this financial plan, this overview of everything. And she couldn't understand when he found out. She knew it would be upsetting, but couldn't have comprehended his anger, his resentment. She couldn't even comprehend the fallout that he would have. And so he had this idea that they were going to be basically millionaires because of all the money that he had been putting away. He was financially responsible. He was on target. He had a vision for his family. He was truly, and she knew this vision. And then when she could no longer keep the facade up, she had to sit down and say, well, I owe $20,000 on this credit card and $15,000 on this credit card and $2,000 on this credit card. And when they got the summation of everything that she had done, it was over $250,000.
Wow.
She had all of this because of their access and their credit. And she just got to the place where she couldn't pay this, and she couldn't even make the minimum payments anymore. And yes, they were able to get out of that financial bind, but it certainly changed the trajectory of his retirement when he was going to retire, because he was going to retire fairly young. I think it was before he was 60. He was very responsible. And that's back to that financial infidelity. She couldn't understand the betrayal he felt for it was like the car that somebody was driving in her family, she purchased it, things of that nature that he just wasn't aware of. But thank God they worked through that. Last time we talked to them, they're very in a good, healthy place. Forgiveness has reigned. But yeah, that was a yeah.
Yeah, that would have been a blow. Let me ask you this: Did she do all that after she got married, or was it some of the bills there before they got married? Do you know?
This was when they got. I believe from everything they shared with us is when they got married, because they struggled at first. And when he got this position, and then he's climbed up the ladder very, very quickly, money just started coming in. And, so he wouldn't necessarily see what was going out. That's when she started seeing, oh, I can apply for this, and I get a black card, and I get this kind of card, And so she was like, she welcomed that. And he was often working because they work, I think, 12-hour shifts, and just putting her clothes and, just, and she said she really didn't sit down and really look at all of the money that had been going out.
If she had to hide it, it was an issue.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to think about that.
Yeah.
So if I have to hide my packages in the back of my trunk,
yeah, it's an issue.
Maybe one or two. No, I'm just playing. But no, if I have to hide, my packages, then that is an issue. It becomes
if you're at Chico's register, and there's something in your gut that says, you really don't have this, but I need to really look professional at work. No. Or Talbots or J. Crew or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Yeah. You know.
Yeah,
So we have to use wisdom in those situations. And we know, right now we're trying to build wealth and do all these things. And so we're paying off stuff. And of course, I love to shop, but right now I've put that on hold because we have a
bigger
vision.
picture. The bigger picture
is this is what we're going to do. And we can only get there when we work together. And so that's where we are right now. So there was once upon a time where we had foolish money, and I call it foolish because if I had it back, we would be well off. We would go shopping every other weekend and, just blow money. We wasn't responsibility. And that was like, 5 years ago. So, God has been showing us and how to do this thing. My son told us, our son, he's a financial advisor. I don't even know what you call him. He works in New York. And one of the things he told us when we were just riding out, he was like, money talks, but wealth whispers. So I'm like, okay, that makes sense. So all this stuff that I had, the things that I get, I don't get for other people. I get for me.
Right.
But at the same time, it's been COVID. I got all those clothes in my closet with tags on. I really don't need any new clothes. Lord help. But I'm saying we need to use wisdom because guess what? At the end of the day, we have vision. We have something, a goal that we're trying to meet, and we can only do it when we're working together. So.
That's right. That's excellent. That's excellent. That's all the questions that we have on board. And I just believe that God truly wanted to bless marriages today. If I could tell you the backstory of some of the things that happened today, you wouldn't even believe it. I've traveled, been on a plane all day, some equipment issues and then some technical issues. But at the end of the day, I want to tell you, God thought enough about you to allow us to get on here and speak truth and pray about things before we got on to speak with you. So, and I just think that that's something about marriages that are so special to God. That covenant relationship that he does want people like myself and Keisha to come before you and speak life to you. So any other words, Keisha?
And I just want to encourage, couples that may be going through some hard times, some difficult times, that even in this pandemic, what I think has happened is it has uncovered holes. Holes are not bad because guess what? They can be filled. And so as long as you trust God and you are connected to people that are pouring into you, that are encouraging you, that are influencing your growth, then you can make it. It's hard. I mean, we're home. We've been home since March. My husband and I, we work from home. He works downstairs. I work upstairs. And the enemy, he's coming for me too. But you have to use wisdom. You have to identify the enemy for who he is. Now, yes, you may have uncovered some challenges that you see in your marriage, but guess what? Work on those things. And if you can't do it, seek counsel. So, this is not the time to give up. This is not the time to say, God, okay, I know you can do it, but I don't know. Listen, you can't doubt. You have to have faith. You have to trust God. He wants your marriage to work. He doesn't want to see you fail. There are circumstances where I know you say, well, no, it's just too hard. Yeah, marriage is hard. It takes work. But, if your good days outweigh your bad days, then listen, you are on 100. You know what I'm saying? So, just believe God, just trust God, and I said it earlier, and I really want you to just take this to heart. Give yourself and your husband grace to grow. It is imperative that you trust God. I have a note here, and I want to tell you what it is. Oh, where is it? And it's about grace. And I want you to just write that down if I can find it.
Yes.
Katrina, I can't find my note. I have a note about grace. Oh, here it is. Grace believes the best about your spouse. How about that? So grace believes the best about your spouse. So because of that, yes, you may not see it right now. He may be getting on your nerves or vice versa. But grace believes the best about your spouse. And because you ask God for grace, extend that to your spouse. You know, in this season, it is hard, but guess what? We're still winning in 2020. We're still winning no matter what happened on yesterday. We're still going to win this thing. You know, God is in control. And even sometimes it looks like he's not. Oh, he is. He knows the end from the beginning. And so we just have to trust him. So if you need some encouragement, come back, watch this video, reach out to Katrina, reach out to me at Her Dope Marriage. Listen, we want all relationships to win, not just ours. You know, we're in it for the long haul. We're in it not because we like to come on and talk. No, we're in it because this is ministry. This is what God has called us to do, and he has equipped us to do it. So let us help you. Let us, you know, deposit into you, plant those seeds, and encourage you to be the best version of yourself in your marriage.
Amen. Amen. On that note, I believe there is nothing we can follow except just telling you to reach out to God, as she just said, having that wisdom and inviting him every step of the way, even when you're frustrated.
Yes.
God, and be transparent with God. God, I know I shouldn't be frustrated, but I am. And I need you to help me.
Yep.
Invite him every step of the way, even the ugly part of Katrina. And like Keisha said, people will say, well, you and Malcolm have this awesome marriage. Me and Malcolm have been through hell.
Listen.
Hell. So but we have a restorative God. He restores. He's such an amazing, when I tell you, we've experienced healing in our marriage on so many levels. We've experienced grace. He's taught me how to look at my husband through his eyes and not mine.
Yes.
And vice versa. Because I know I can be something too.
Bless the Lord.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, we can leave on this. Just invite God into your marriage. Invite him into the house, into the atmosphere. Let the Holy Spirit have his way and just breathe freshness. Like we're on the oil. Breathe that oil in your marriage, in the atmosphere. You know, let God transcend. I'm telling you, if you trust God not to fix it, he'll get it done. I'm telling you. Okay, we can talk about this all night, but yeah. I'm done.
Amen.
I'm done for real.
Well, as we always do, we end with a kiss because the love is always overflowing in love. So we ask you to just continue to walk in all of God's goodness and grace and accept his overflowing love, his radical love, his scandalous love for you and your home. With that, goodbye.
Bye, y'all.
Keisha, it won't let me get out. Okay.